Man, I could really go for some vegan cheese sauce right now.
Welcome to Crocs in the Kitchen.
I'm Jessica.
And I am Brian. Yes, we have decided to make you guys a cheese sauce. Only one problem. We don't have a cheese sauce recipe. So, since we decided to make cheese sauce, we couldn't decide whose cheese sauce we wanted to make. And so therefore, we thought it was just about time for a Cheese Sauce Throwdown.
Wow.
Yes, we have not done a throwdown in a while, and we figured that since we were currently quarantined in the apartment, we might as well just go all out and make a bunch of cheese sauce, and this is gonna last us a good long while.
Yeah.
Unless you go crazy.
Why make one when you can make 4 different kinds?
Exactly.
We picked 4 different recipes. Each of them has a different kind of main ingredient. So we're really excited to compare all 4 and see which ones we like the best.
Yep, so without further ado, let's see who the contenders are. Up first on the field, we have the Jaroudi family's Nacho cheese sauce. This sauce has a base of cashews and roasted red pepper, and it is sure to deliver some huge flavor. Up next, we have the fan favorite Jill McKeever's 5-minute game changer cheese sauce. Let's see if this oat-based cheese sauce will reign supreme. Rounding out the third spot, we have Brand New Vegan's amazing vegan cheese sauce. With a potato and carrot base, this fat-free cheese sauce is sure to please. And finally, the newcomer on the field is the Healthspan Solutions Chipotle Butternut Cheesy Sauce. This cheese sauce from Ray Cronice and Juliana Hever is sure to have a kick. Now, let's see how all of these are made. Up first, we have the Jaroudi family's Nacho cheese sauce. This sauce has no added salt, but it uses white miso to give that salty flavor. We just threw all of the ingredients together into the blender and it came out a bit chunky, but Brittany Jaroudi assured us that we could just add in some water and it would come out nice and creamy. Of course, up next we have Jill McKeever's 5-minute game changer cheese sauce. The cornstarch is actually what gives this its entire texture, which is a nice, rich, and creamy sauce. But you just throw everything together and, like the name says, you blend it for 5 minutes in a high-speed blender, and it turns out like this. Of course, this does make a huge amount of cheese sauce, so be warned. Third on the list is Brand New Vegan's amazing vegan cheese sauce. This one takes a little bit longer to prepare because you have to boil the potato and the carrot, but once that is good and soft, you can throw it into the blender and mix it together, add in the rest of the ingredients, and blitz it again, and then you have yourselves Brand New Vegan's amazing vegan cheese sauce. This one is, of course, entirely Mary's Mini compliant, and it is entirely fat-free. And finally, we have the Healthspan Solutions Chipotle Butternut Cheesy Sauce. This one has an interesting technique because you blend the cashews and the nutritional yeast together, making a fine powder. Then, of course, just like the others, you add in the rest of the ingredients and blend it until it is creamy and smooth. We'll see how this chipotle powder turns out though, because Chipotle powder is quite strong, so you may want to go a little light on it. But that's it for our cheese sauces. Let's get back to Crocs in the kitchen for the review. So there you have it. 4 different types of cheese sauce. So this leads us to the next phase, the judgment round, which of course we are going to do in multiple different ways, be it cold, and then we are also going to do it hot. But we decided that we weren't just going to try them plain, we were going to try them on some chips.
Yes, so we like to take just plain corn tortillas where the only ingredients are basically corn and lime. Some of them have a little bit of sea salt in them. And we like to use these sprouted ones that we find at Whole Foods, but you can also, at Trader Joe's, they have some good ones that are really cheap that just have corn and lime. But basically, I just use a pizza cutter and I cut them up into little triangles that are evenly shaped, as evenly as I can make them. And then I put them onto a large baking sheet that has been lined with Silpat and just bake them at 375 for about, these ones we went for about 15, 16 minutes. Sometimes I do 20. It depends on the thickness. These are actually a bit thinner than the normal ones, just like the standard Trader Joe's ones. But just depending, you got to keep an eye because there is a fine line between burning them and making them extra tasty and crispy.
Very true.
But these ones turned out perfectly crispy. They have a nice snap, and so I'm super excited to dip them in some queso.
Yes.
Well, not queso, maybe cheese sauce.
We keep calling it queso, and
It's
we're
not-
trying to avoid calling it queso
They're
because
all-
to us they're cheese sauces,
Yes.
But Jessica, I think that
Yes.
we should actually get to tasting these
Yes.
fine sauces.
So the first one, we are going to try them in the same order we made them in. So the first one was the Jaroudi family's nacho cheese sauce.
Yes, which is
And-
this one,
yes,
right?
Which is that one. I do love the color on that one. I
Yeah,
like that
it's
it's like kind of orange. It's got all that red pepper in there.
Yes. So we're trying it cold first with a chip.
This one is the main ingredient, I would say, is cashews, but the red pepper is also a big ingredient.
Mm-hmm. I like that. That's good. Yeah, I know I double dip. I don't care.
It's creamy.
That is really good.
You can hear how crispy the chips are.
Mm-hmm.
It is really good. I'm excited to try that one hot.
Yeah, definitely just wanted to try that one
I
hot.
guess I shouldn't get any more. So I did want to talk about I've been thinking about the process of making them and some of the kind of pros and cons on that.
Mm-hmm.
So for this one, I would say, hold on, I still have chip. For this one, I would say that it's very easy to make.
Yes.
You literally just throw all the ingredients in your Vitamix or whatever kind of blender, and it's very easy to make. I will say it was a little bit more difficult. It's the lowest. This one only makes a little, what I would call a single serving. Probably should be a serving that we would share between the two of us, obviously, because I shouldn't be eating an entire bowl of this stuff. But basically, it makes just a little bit. And so with our Vitamix, the base is very wide and it's really hard to mix stuff if you don't have enough quantity. So I would actually double the recipe if I was doing this again in the Vitamix.
Mm-hmm.
Or we have those smaller attachments for our Vitamix, or if you had like a magic bullet kind of thing, or this would work really well with that. So I actually think that that's a pro though, that it makes such a small amount, because if you're trying to lose weight and follow this kind of lifestyle, you don't necessarily want to have giant vats of cheese sauce laying around. So I actually think that I like the fact that her recipe only makes enough for like one meal, one kind of thing, and that's actually perfect.
Yep. But
Yes.
you want to move on to the next one?
Okay, fine.
Just saying, we should get through these,
Yes. Okay. Okay. So let's taste the next one.
Mm-hmm. And what is the next one, Jessica?
I'm just focused on tasting. It is Jill McKeever's 5-minute game changer cheese sauce.
This is the most suggested cheese sauce to make.
People keep suggesting that we make this over and over and over and over again,
Yes.
like a million times. So I'm actually really glad we made it. So now when people recommend it, we can say, yes,
And
we
you can
actually
see,
did make it.
you can see how thick
It
it
is
is.
super thick.
Like very, very thick, very sort of cold cheese sauce. Like you know, the kind of cheese sauce that you get in the big cans that you would put in a crock pot for a party. Yeah, I said a crock pot. You know, like, at least for me, that's what I remember back in the day is like the big crock pot of canned cheese sauce, nacho cheese sauce. That is like, that looks like the same consistency, at least, of that.
This one, the main ingredient is actually oats. And so that's very interesting to me because I never thought you could make a cheese sauce out of oats. It also has cornstarch. That's what makes it so thick. But the interesting thing for me about this one is that the process of making it was super, super, super easy, but it makes such a massive amount.
Huge amount.
Like, it makes a giant amount. So if you're looking for like a party and you want to make, as far as the preparation, putting it all in a blender, you do have to have a blender that is like a Vitamix or a really high-speed blender, because it has that, you let it run for like 5 minutes. And so you basically like couldn't make this in a regular blender that won't allow for heat, because not all blenders are supposed to get hot. They have to have certain kind of like ventilation on them, or else they will not be pretty. So yeah, that's the only downside, I guess, to that as far as the preparation goes, is you do need a high-speed blender like a Vitamix or Blendtec kind of thing.
Yes.
Also, should we point out that since these are not our recipes, you'll be able to find links to all these recipes in the blog post below. Let's see, for these 3, you'll be able to find the links. Now, this one is from a cookbook, so you'll have to buy the cookbook, but we'll link to that as well. Okay.
So let's get on to the third one. And what's the third one?
The third...
So you've got all the information up here, and you're not getting to the next thing.
Okay,
what's the third one?
Oh, this one is Brand New Vegan's Amazing Vegan Cheese Sauce.
Yes.
So this one is made, the main ingredient is potato.
Yeah, potatoes and carrot. And, you know, it's got a couple of other things in there too. But we have made this one before, actually, back when we were doing, I think, our first Mary's Mini, right?
Yes.
Yes. And so some people have asked, like, hey, where's the cheese sauce recipe? Well, this was actually the one that we made for that one.
So it is Mary's Mini compliant.
Which is a big bonus.
Now, the preparation on this one is a little bit more involved, just because you have to boil some water and boil the potatoes and the carrot before. So it's not just dump everything in the Vitamix and blend. You do have to do that additional step. So that's, as far as preparation, that was my notes on that. Now, the last one is from the Healthspan Solution Cookbook. It is Ray Cronise and Juliana Hever. They have a book called The Healthspan Solution. It is a phenomenal book. Seriously, check it out. We'll put a link down below. But this is a butternut squash-based cheese sauce. It's actually called their Chipotle Butternut Cheesy Sauce.
Yep, so go ahead and try it.
Okay. I'm
gonna do a lot. Watch it.
Wow. You're really going for it.
All right. I know I haven't really been talking a whole lot recently about flavors and stuff. That one is really good. And there's a nice, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go back to the beginning here.
Yes.
So, flavor-wise, this one has a really solid, like, roasted red pepper flavor to it, and is just got a really good creaminess to it, really great texture, and all in all, a very good sauce.
So that's the Jaroudi family.
Yes, Jaroudi family for that one. Jill's Game Changer cheese sauce, consistency-wise to me right now, is the most like that traditional cheese sauce that everybody remembers from the crock pot.
It even gets that weird film on it, which sounds weird, but that's what happens when you make cheese sauce.
But with this one, there is that slight undertone of oat flavor.
Yeah.
And it's got a little bit of, you know, the other tangy texture to it. Doesn't really have much of a smoky flavor, despite the fact that liquid smoke is in it, and all of that. But it's also like, I know it has like 2 teaspoons of salt in it, right?
Yes.
In the whole thing.
Yes.
So it didn't actually turn out that salty. I was kind of surprised at that. Going on to Brand New Vegan, you got Chuck's. His His to me is almost more like a condiment style. Like I know it's a cheesy type sauce, but to me it's a bit more like in flavor wise in the vein of like a different type of like special sauce or something like that. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
Because it's got that apple cider vinegar in there and you know that kind of stuff. Not to mention, but it's just, I mean, it is good. So I do really like this one. And then we move on to Ray Crowenice and Juliana Hevers. And this one though, this one's got a good little kick to it.
Yes, the
right?
flavor of that one.
We only added in, I think, like the lower amount of chipotle powder that it suggested.
Like a half a teaspoon. It's
Yes.
at half a teaspoon to 3/4, I think.
Yes.
And we
So
only
we
put half.
only did the half. And this has got a solid kick to it. But this one is like super nice and creamy. And all in all, like it's not too acidic. Like this one's fairly acidic, and this one's got a good bit of acid to it. But this one like is not extremely acidic, but it does have that touch of lemon flavor in the background, and then it's got that spice to it and all of that. But looks-wise, this looks the least like a cheese sauce.
Yeah, I think the color of that one could change depending on your butternut squash too.
Oh, yeah?
Because we actually have never tried, the original recipe calls for you to take an actual butternut squash and roast it.
Yes.
And do all that. We've only ever used the like pre-cubed butternut squash to make it. So I think the color could change depending on that as well.
Yes.
But I like that they all have different colors. It's like,
Yeah, it is
it's
pretty
like,
pretty
it's like
interesting.
all the shades of and I like how they kind of went from like darker to lighter as in the order we made them in, which was kind of funny.
Absolutely.
So I'll go through and give a couple of my notes, and then we're going to heat them up and see if that changes any of our thoughts on any of them.
Yes.
Starting with the Jaroudi families, I really like that red pepper flavor. It reminds me actually of the Good Foods queso that I like so much in consistency, color, and in flavor. It's not exactly the same flavor, but the Jaroudi family definitely has that red pepper, just like the Good Foods queso one does. For Jill's sauce, as far as the flavor goes, I just wish it had more of a kick to it. I like spice, and I want it to be spicy. But I was telling Brian last night, because, you know, we may have sampled, as we were making these, we may have sampled a little bit here and there. But with Jill's, I think it would be a good base to add your own kind of spice. You could add, you know, just how spicy you want it to be. You can add, you know, whatever kind of spice you want. And so I think it's a good base to start out with. But I think with the rest of it, because we have such a massive batch, I think we're going to divide it into a few little batches and try adding like different kinds of spice to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the brand new vegan sauce, I do like that one just has a lot of flavor to it. Chuck is never shy with using the seasoning, using the like spices and all that kind of stuff. He always does a really great job of balancing those out with his recipes. So I think that is nice. Also, the fact that it's fat-free.
And Mary's Mini compliant.
And Mary's Mini compliant is definitely a big bonus on my part. And then for the last one, for the one from the Healthspan solution, I love the flavor of that the most. I think it has a nice kick from the Chipotle. It has just a great balance of flavor. I mean,
a touch of sweetness to it because of the butternut squash.
Yeah, it's really good. A few notes on that one. I didn't really talk about the process of making that one. It's pretty easy as well, especially if you just start out with the pre-cubed butternut squash like we did instead of like, you know, roasting a butternut squash and stuff like that. And you can find those little bags in the refrigerated or freezer sections of a lot of the grocery stores nowadays of just the pre-cubed butternut squash. So yeah, if you start out with that, it's really simple to put it together in your Vitamix. I would say that the amazing part about this one was the technique where you take the cashews and the nutritional yeast and like blitz that up together before you start mixing it together. And because sometimes when you put cashews and stuff, you notice you get those little little lumps in it, and it doesn't really fully incorporate. But doing that, that technique is amazing. You should buy the book just based on that technique alone.
Yep.
I can't say the recipes in that book. I keep saying he, but it's also Juliana has a big part of that book.
Yeah.
So because Ray and Juliana, I know, both poured their heart into that book. They just have such a different, unique take on some of these recipes that You know how there's those recipes that you just see in the vegan, whole food, plant-based that you see going around, and it's kind of the same recipes kind of redone sometimes?
Yeah.
They just have such a different spin on things, and it's awesome.
Yep.
I can't wait to try more from that book. But anyway, without further ado, why don't we heat these up?
Yeah.
We'll be back with some hot just to see if it tastes any different hot.
Let's heat it up. All right, so these are now heated up, so let's get to tasting again.
All right, starting with the Jaroudi family's nacho cheese sauce.
Good and hot nacho cheese sauce. It definitely brings out the red pepper flavor more, which is nice. That's really good hot. Like, I really like that hot. Way better than cold. All right.
Hold on, I'm gonna choke.
All right, I'm moving on to Jill's, okay? So, it kind of loosened up a little bit, but not a whole lot. So it's still got that really thick,
So
cheesy
thick.
consistency.
It's so thick.
It still kind of tastes like oats.
That's a surprising thing for me is because I, like with my banana and ice cream, I can't taste the banana. I'm not good at picking out those individual flavors like Brian is, but I can definitely pick out the oat in this one.
But I think that if you had a little bit of kick to it, a little bit of spice, maybe a little bit more acid or something in there, I think that it wouldn't taste as much like that.
Definitely.
But yeah. All right, now on to Chuck's.
Alrighty. Ooh. See, I like I don't know. This reminds me of, like, the texture is pretty nice on this one. But, I think I might like that one better cold.
Heating it up kind of brings out more of those acid notes from the apple cider vinegar. All right, and let's move on to the final one.
Alrighty.
That was like the perfect amount of chips over on this side.
So this one, the one from the Healthspan solution.
Yes, Healthspan solution Chipotle cheese
Getting
sauce.
a nice amount. Gotta make sure I get enough to taste it.
So
Now, this one, the consistency, is that what you're gonna say?
yeah, exactly what I was about to say. When it was cold, it was still pretty runny. And now that it's hot, you can see here, I'll like scoop up a bunch. It's like, it's still pretty
thickened
runny.
up, but it's still pretty runny. But this one we've made before, and what we like to do is put it on the stove in a saucepan and just kind of let it cook a little bit till it thickens up a bit.
It's so good.
Ah, they're all
A little
good.
bit of sweet, a little bit of spice to it. All right.
Do we have
So-
to rank these? What do we?
Well, yeah. I mean, we don't really have to rank them.
Okay.
But because mainly, it all kind of boils down to preference. I know a lot of people really love Jill McKeever's cheese sauce, and it is top notch as far as like consistency goes. But like for me, preference wise, I'm gonna take either Healthspan or I'm gonna take Jaroudi family, just because like they've got that real big pop of flavor that I really like. But I mean, it all kind of depends on how you really want to, what you really want to do, what you really want to make, and what your flavors that you enjoy are.
And then a lot of people don't, these, let's see, the Brand New Vegan and the Jill McKeever are both fat-free. They don't have any cashews in them. These two both have cashews. So you kind of have to decide, like, what do you, are you trying to get like a little bit more indulgent with the cashew kind of based one? For me, if I had to pick another one to make right now, if you were like, which one do you want to make again right now? I would probably go for the Healthspan solution. But they're all good, I think, for different purposes. I think you should try all of them, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's just a good experiment to kind of see what flavors you prefer. And it's just amazing what you can do with simple ingredients.
Yeah.
Blending it together that it turns into something that even resembles cheese sauce at all.
So
yeah.
I would say we will reiterate though that these are all very good.
They are.
Like it's just that personal preference wise, we're gonna pick probably a different one than you may pick or somebody else may pick. But just trust me, in the whole food plant-based world of cheese sauces, these are all top notch in my opinion.
I think these are definitely top contenders. So not that I've tried any more cheese sauces, but I can only
You've tried some store-bought ones, and these definitely are
these
better
are definitely
than a lot of them.
Better on par, or even better than a lot of the store-bought kind of ones that, or ones that I've had in restaurants and stuff like that too.
But I can also tell you that this has given me some good ideas for how I might be able to make my own cheese sauce, and combine some different techniques of different things, and like put some stuff together. And then who knows, maybe you'll see a Crocs cheese sauce coming in the future. We can only hope. I know Jessica would probably love that if I came up with something super tasty.
Yeah.
But yeah, for my pick though, if I'm gonna pick like a top one, I think we're both in agreement. For some reason, man, like this one is just really good. It's got that great hit. And then Jaroudi, you are that tiny amount underneath that.
I like the Jaroudi one for the if I was ranking it on like ease of making it, I would definitely pick the Jaroudi one. It was the easiest to make, hands down. Pretty simple ingredients that most people have on hand. But again, like we said, click on the blog post that's linked down below for the links to all these. Also, I will have like a little pro and con list for each of the recipes in the link as well. So if you want to get the information and kind of read it more in that format versus us just randomly trying and talking about it and kind of being all over the place, I'll put everything in the blog post all concise together. But yeah, I think that they're all good for different purposes. And I think that, if I was on Mary's Mini and I needed a cheese sauce fix, I definitely would go with Chuck's.
Absolutely.
This one, the Healthspan solution is, like I said, my favorite flavor-wise, and the one I would probably, like, my go-to one. The one with Jill's with the oats, like, that just blows my mind that you can put those in there and let that blend for 5 minutes and it turns into that. That's just insane.
It is crazy.
It's really good. I'm excited with Jill's, since the thing that it was lacking for me was just that punch of spice that I really want. I'm excited to go through and really like try out different combinations, add different stuff. Speaking of which, what we did one time when we made the butternut squash one from the Healthspan solution was add a can of Rotel to it. And they do actually make no salt added Rotel.
Yes, they do.
And so any of these, I would be excited to add the Rotel to it and see how that kind of makes it into more of a queso kind of thing and changes the flavors too. But I think we've gone on long enough about cheese sauce. I don't think we can say anything else.
Should we just get to the close?
I think we should get to the close.
Okay, fine then. You can find us on all of the social media stuff, including Instagram and Facebook. Message us on there if you are so inclined to do so. Also, if you have not subscribed, please do so. We would greatly appreciate it. And click the bell that is right next to it so you can get notified whenever we post a new video. Also, I know you guys, you like to do things, so why not like and share the video as well and help us out with all those YouTube metrics and whatnot. But that is all I have.
That's definitely all I have.
We will see you next time on Crocs in the Kitchen. Bye. All right, grab the Rotel.